Hello, this is Pauline Jennings. Welcome to Musician Talk. In lieu of a sponsor this week, I want to take a minute to thank Jeff Johnson, owner of KYMN, which is so vital to our community. Jeff, along with Terry Knight, KYMN's news director, and the whole KYMN team, keep us informed and entertained. Jeff is a keen supporter of the arts, which thrills me to no end, and has made this show possible. So thanks, Jeff, for your help and vision. Terry, for your encouragement, and the whole KYMN family for keeping Northfield vibrant, clued in, and tapping our toes. My guest today on Musician Talk is Todd Thompson. Todd gets a lot done. He's director of POEGTA, a nonprofit organization promoting peace through music and education, works at Graphic Mailbox, is a freelance musician with Todd Thompson Band, and founder of Songs of My Life, a community-building project based on songs and shared experience. He also is very educated with a BA in math, PhD in chemistry, and a master's in music. I hope I can keep up with them. My conversation with Todd today centers around a new song that he wrote called George, about George Floyd's murder, equality, justice, and hope. Let's talk to Todd Thompson. Todd, how are you doing?
Hi, Pauline. I'm doing good.
Well, that's good. It seems like you have been one of the busiest people I know during this COVID isolation. You've done so many creative things on top of being an essential worker and continuing to work through the whole time and getting a knee surgery. There's a lot there. So where do you get your inspiration and your drive to do all this?
As George Burns says, it's better than the alternative, being busy. Yeah, it's been a busy few months. Like you mentioned, the store I work at, the Graphic Mailbox, is open, and we've been even busier than normal. And all of the musical things that I do, whether they be for a community ed class or a church or whatever, they've all gone online. So I had to figure out how to do all of that stuff, how to get Facebook Live. And then two friends of mine, Steve Jennings and Craig Wasner, and I, we started to put together some songs to try to alleviate the boredom of the pandemic, or to find some humor in it. That's been kind of a newer project that I've been working on. And so we've put out 3 fun songs so far called, Don't Stand So Close to Me, and Because I'm Inside, and Spring Fever, which kind of set the stage for the song that we're releasing this week, which kind of turned serious.
Yes, it did. Now, before we move on to that, these songs, Don't Stand So Close to Me, and the other 2, the purpose is to, like you said, lighten the mood as far as COVID isolation and the issues that we've had around COVID, because all of us need that. It's like our minds are just filled with so much negative things. So thank you for putting those together and putting those out on Facebook and making a ton of people laugh and smile. Where do you get the inspiration for doing those kind of a little bit spoofy?
I haven't done a lot of that through the years. I sort of Weird Al Yankovic-ed. It took songs that already existed and put new words to them. My brother used to write limericks when he was like a senior and I was just a kid on the basketball bus. And he would write these limericks about this place we were going to go play, We're going to, kill the Rosemont Irish, stuff like that. And so I kind of learned some of that from him. But I like writing lyrics and making something work. It's like a crossword puzzle for me. Usually you have to have some kind of, spark of idea. Like the song Don't Stand So Close to Me was kind of an obvious one where I go to the grocery store and, don't stand so close to me, that old Police song. I find them fun to, if you will, solve the puzzle of how to make that song, meaningful, in this case, meaningful to say something about our plight here in the pandemic, and also useful so you can actually record it, so it works. It's really fun with Steve and Craig because we complement each other, and anything I can think of or whatever those guys can play, they'll say something like, is that what you're thinking of? That's way better than I was thinking. So it's fun for me. And
well, I know it's been fun for Steve too, who is my husband, for those of you out there that don't know that. It's always nice to get an expert involved doing what they do well.
It's so much fun when you're working with people that, have the confidence to take that and run with it.
Yes, it is. I agree. And I love what you said about solving the puzzle of the lyrics. That's a great way to think about it. Lyrics of any kind, but particularly when you're Al Yankovicing it, to take something that's already done and twist it into something else. That's great.
One of the fun things about the song we're going to talk about today, George, is that we took it a little bit further than we have recently with perfecting things. Part of that has been that Steve took on the role of producer, which was just super awesome and helped keep us on track in a production sense. And so I'm really super excited about how it sounds. And we sent it out to Casey Wasner to mix it. And when it came back, I was like, who is that singing? Oh yeah, that's me. It was pretty sweet.
Oh, that's such a great feeling. Okay, so usually after we talk about the kind of the intro stuff, I take somebody back to the inception of their musical life. But what we're going to do this time, because this is a special program of mostly about one song that you wrote, Todd, called George, I want to take you back to the inception of the song, starting with why you wrote this song. What got you to sit down and write these lyrics? There's been countless murders of and injustice towards our Black brothers and sisters by the white establishment. So I'm just wondering what this time that got you in that chair and got you started writing.
I've wondered that a little bit myself. I suppose the stage was set for me personally back a few years ago when there was some violence in St. Louis and surrounding area. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, really? I lived through the civil rights movement, and I thought we'd made some progress. And I looked and I thought it seemed like no progress. In fact, it seemed worse. And that was a few years ago now, and that's been kind of sitting there. And I think part of it for me, why I actually wrote the song, is partly because we're in the middle of the pandemic, for one thing. And so even though I've been very busy, I have been writing a lot. And secondly, Mr. Floyd was killed in Minneapolis,
Mm-hmm.
right in the neighborhood where I used to live.
Mm.
And I guess it was so close. And of course, the circumstances of his death were so overwhelmingly emotional and difficult to process.
Yeah.
When I have a difficult issue, sometimes I'll write a song about it. Not sometimes, a lot of times. Because I find that when I write a song about something, I can't really lie about it.
Oh.
I can't really, to me, there's something sacred or something like that. I'm not sure what the word is there, but it's like a truth serum in some ways. So when I saw this, I thought for a while, but I put it off. I thought it's too hard of a problem to write a song about.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't write it right away, but I guess about 2 weeks after it happened, I sat down and I was watching some footage of his funeral and interviews with his family. And I found out that he was kind of known as a gentle giant, and that his family, he had a bunch of kids, and his brother, I think, and maybe one of his daughters had given some impassioned speeches about him. And I guess I found out that he was a hip hop artist in Houston before he moved up here too. And so the thought occurred to me that could I write a song that his family would like?
Mm-hmm.
Was the first thought I had.
And that would be comforted, I believe, at one point I heard you say too.
Yeah, comforting, right. So I embarked on that. I felt a little bit inadequate. Not only is it a difficult question about racial tensions and misuse of authority and our law enforcement, but it was also, what does a 64-year-old white fella in Northfield have to say about something like this? But as I've thought about it more, I felt that, I think that's that silence, or that the thought that I don't have anything to say about it is kind of exacerbates the problem. So I began to construct the song. I had to listen to some hip hop music to find a tempo. That's the right tempo, and I set that up on my boombox there on my garage band, and just a beat, and started to see what lyrics could come to me. I just wanted to tell a story. So the way it all worked out is the song kind of came out in 3 parts. The spoken part would be the part where tell the story about what happened to George and what's happening in our world. And then there's a chorus which talks about how wouldn't it be great if all people were equal, and where every different color was given a chance. And then there's a chant part, which was meant to be a peaceful part. That's the idea that, he's at peace. And then I added to the chant another more, a second chant that was more a call to action, because I thought the song needed to have some muscle as well. Wouldn't it be nice if it honored George and also was a bit of a call to action for people?
You talked about the verses. That's the spoken part. That tells the story.
Right.
And then the chant, the first part of the chant was meant as comfort. And then the second part of the chant was a call to action. And the chorus?
The chorus is a vision.
The vision.
Yeah.
Nice. And for those of you that are under, 30, a boombox is something we used to put CDs and tapes into that we listened to.
I loosely called it a boombox. It's my computer now, but yeah.
I like that. I'm going to start calling my computer the boombox. So wonderful. So you now we're talking about the writing of the lyrics, mm-hmm. and that you had those, and then you had the beat. Okay, so now let's go on from here. You had the beat, you picked up your guitar.
Okay, right. So I came up with this chord progression that then went along with the beat. So I had a little chord progression and a beat that just looped infinitely. One of the unifying reasons why I think it fits together is the chord progression is the same throughout. Through the spoken, through the chorus, through the chant, it's the same all the way. And so most songs keep the same beat throughout the song, and that unifies the song, no matter what else you might do in the song. This with the three different types of music that are in there, I use some other ways of unifying it so that it hangs together as one song. It doesn't sound disjointed.
In a song like this, it's talking about a man's murder and about social injustice and about the struggles of a segment of a society that you are not part of, although you are part of a society that reflects it. What are the inherent difficulties in writing lyrics for a song like that?
Like I said, I wanted a song that told the truth as best as I could do. For me, and everybody has had a different reaction. For me, it was just giant tears. Mm-hmm. And the song is an attempt for me to process that in my own mind. And I hope it might be helpful for people to help process it themselves in their own way. I write songs, but other people do other stuff, Other people march, and whatever it is you do, that you can absorb some of your emotional energy. Because I'm from Minnesota and always have been, and it happened here, there's a definite Minnesota feel to the song, I think. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't shy away from it. It says, he died in Minnesota, and talks about some of our, a little bit of our culture here. In this particular case, the truth or the facts are overwhelmingly compelling. Right. I mean, they're going to compel you, and it could make it really, in my case, it's very emotional. It's a very oh my gosh, how can people do that to each other?
Yeah, I know. I hear you.
And, so other people are super angry. I'm not going to let this happen anymore. Other people are into it in all sorts of different ways. And so I do hope people do try to process this in their own way and not ignore it. For me, anyway, I feel strongly that I hope that we, as a culture here in Minnesota or in the country at large, sit with it and see what it does to you. See if maybe after thinking about it or praying about it, you might open your heart to something different.
That's beautiful, Todd. I think this is a great spot to take a listen to the song and then come back and talk about it some more.
Now George moved north to be with friends, but because he was black, it would be his end. He died in Minnesota, land of Prince and Bob Dylan, where people are nice, but are they really willing to own the crimes happening in the streets where it's dangerous to be black or poor or just meek. A policeman that's white killed the handcuffed George, and everybody wondered if he'd even be charged. Now the world is shouting, no more killing, no more blood, no more victims, no more nameless villains. We've lost too many of the rare and beautiful who were just living and dreaming to go to a place where all people are treated as equals, where Martin Luther King is not just a name on a street in a country ashamed, where every different color has a chance like all the others, and all will march as one with steps that are strong with the heartbeat of those who have gone. George Floyd, be at peace, for your gentle spirit has increased. All the world feels the power of your life in this hour. George Floyd has died. Be at peace, for your gentle we spirit will not be denied. We will have equality in every street, in every city. You know, when children are taught to hate and condemn their brothers and sisters that are different from them, it's not a good place for them to play and grow. I feel that we all want them safe and to know we'll work and sweat for a new world that's forged from the fire that was the life of the big man named George. We will find a new way to behave and believe, so Martins and Georges can live and breathe in a place where all people are treated as equals, where Martin Luther King is not just a name on a street in a country ashamed, where every different color has a chance like all the others, and all will march as one with steps that are strong with the heartbeat of those who have gone. George Floyd, be at peace, for your gentle spirit has increased. All the world feels the power of your life in this hour. George Floyd, be at peace, for your gentle spirit has increased. All the world feels the power of your life in this hour. George Floyd, be at peace, for your gentle spirit has increased. All the world feels the power in every street, every city. George Floyd, be at peace, for your gentle spirit has increased. All the world feels the power in every street, in every city. George Floyd, be at peace, for your gentle spirit has increased. All the world feels the power in every street, in every city. George Floyd, be at peace, for your gentle spirit has increased. All the world feels the power in every street, in every city. George Floyd has died. We will not be denied. We will have equality in every street, in every city. George Floyd, be at peace, for your gentle spirit has increased. All the world feel the power of your life in this hour.
This is Musician Talk, hosted by me, Pauline Jennings. You just heard the song George, written by my guest, Todd Thompson. Todd, I've heard the song multiple times, and every time I get chills. And it's a powerful song. Thank you so much for writing it.
Thank you, Pauline.
And I'm honored to be a part of it. Just so all of you know, I'm singing backup vocals.
Yeah, we had a really great crew, of which Pauline was a part of. Steve Jennings and Craig Wasner and I, we've produced a number of things through the years, and most recently some videos. And so that's kind of where it started with, was me bringing the song to those two guys. I had made a little version on my home studio, and I brought it over to Craig's Wasner audio studio. And Steve and Craig, well, we actually sent it because we're in the pandemic, right? But we sent it over to Steve, and he listened to it and played some drums, and then brought it over. And then Craig played some piano and I played some, well, actually, I don't think I played anything on this one, but anyway, I sang it. And then we realized that we could use some background vocals, and Pauline came in and sang on it, and we needed a bass player. And Patrick Nelson from the Cities, he sent us a bass track. We sent it up to him, and then he didn't even have to come into the studio. And then Steve, with Craig and my assistance, started to mix it and started to put the final version together. And we changed some things. We added some harmonies, and we added an organ part and the guitar part, which were all played by Craig or Steve. When we got all the parts together, we sent it down to Casey, Craig's son, who is an audio engineer, amongst other things, and a musician himself in Nashville. And Casey mixed it for us and sent it back. And that's how we got the final product.
Wow.
So there's all of those people involved.
Because I was part of this process, I know a little bit about what was going on behind the scenes. As this was being mixed, there started the discussion, putting this music to video.
When we got the song to its, not final form, but it was kind of reaching more final form, Steve shared it with some people in the cities that he knew. And in particular, he shared it with a husband and wife photography duo named Regina Williams and Tom Wallace, I believe. Is that correct? And they got interested in it. We realized that with the serious nature of the project, we wanted to show slides or pictures that showed the context around and within the event of George getting killed. And so Regina had taken a lot of pictures of the murals and artwork and other things that had happened in the cities around his death. So they got interested after hearing the song, and they sent us a bunch of slides of what they'd taken. And so Steve and me too, to some extent, went through the slides, and we picked out slides, and we started to put them together into a video that Steve produced. It's illustrated, the lyrics are kind of illustrated. When we talk about children, then we have maybe some children's drawings, or when we talk about Martin Luther King Jr., there's a quote from him. So there's some literalness to the video, but it also just kind of shows what happened. It also has some footage of where George was killed.
Regina Marie Williams is very involved in Minneapolis with protests and about projects concerning the murder, not only of George, but other injustices. She is mainly an actress, and some of you out there may have seen her. She's a lead in a lot of A-house theaters, and she has picked up photography more recently in her life, and what a beautiful job she did capturing the murals that are out there all over the cities that you put into this video for the song. Her husband Tom worked at the Star Trib for very long, but you use mostly Regina's pictures.
Yeah, Steve told me that he knew a photographer up in the cities named Regina Williams, and I said, well, that's great, And then when I looked her up, I realized that I've seen her in lots of plays, and I was very impressed. I have yet to meet her. I hope I get to someday.
Oh, I'm sure you will.
I feel that if something about a terrible murder could be beautiful, I feel that that's as beautiful as I can make it.
Todd, that's beautiful, and it is beautiful.
His life was beautiful, I'm sure his family feels that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hope they like it.
Yes.
I hope that people find the song and the video thought-provoking, and that they're able to listen to it and watch it and learn a little bit more about George and his life, and about some of the injustice that's out there. And like I mentioned earlier, that they can sit with it and reflect on it and find something that they may do. I think it's the inactivity that's the big poison in our world around issues like this, whether it's racism or sexism. It's our tacit acceptance of it, that's the way it is. It really doesn't need to be the way it is. That's my hope, is that the song will help raise some awareness. And of course, there's all sorts of great ways to get involved. I got into this writing this song, and my daughter, who lives in Seattle, she kind of called me out on the carpet and said, "Dad, you don't know anything about racism. What do you even know?" And so I said, "Well, I don't know. I'm trying to write this song, you know." And she says, "Well, maybe you should read something about it." You know, I said, "Well, what?" She's a lot smarter than me, so she sent me this book called White Fragility. I'm just about done with that book, and anyway, I just thought I'd try to raise Todd's bar a little bit. Maybe I could be a little bit more aware. That's my hope.
The idea of not being silent, and also of listening, and also of learning. Those are three great things to do, and you've done them. So thank you, Todd. And thank you so much for talking to me today about George, your song called George, and all these important issues surrounding inequality and injustice in our society that continue to plague us. Thank you.
Thanks for doing the show, Pauline. I love your show. So you'll be able to find the video on Facebook and YouTube. When the show airs, it'll be out there already. So you can go to either Todd Cameron Thompson, either on YouTube or on Facebook. And if you have any questions or comments, just comment on it right there on Facebook or YouTube, and I'll be glad to respond.
I encourage all of you out there to go and look for the song on YouTube or Facebook so that you can see the video, because as a whole, that's how it's most powerful. So thank you again, Todd, for joining me today. Take care.
Thanks, Pauline.
Thank you to Todd Thompson for spending time with me today for a thoughtful conversation about his song George, about George Floyd's murder, equality, justice, and hope. Tune in next week for my interview with Christina Schweitz, singer in the local duo Sweet Jazz. Big thanks also to Jeff Johnson and KYMN for their vital work in this community. Mostly, thank you to you for tuning in to KYMN and Musician Talk. I hope you have a terrific evening.